When I think about the Catholic intellectual tradition, one of the first passages that comes to mind is the beginning of John's Gospel, where he says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." I like that passage because John is communicating not only about how Christ was present from the very first moments of creation, but also how God communicates with us. The language there he uses for word is logos, which means not only words or speech, but the very structure of reality. So he's saying that God communicates with us in a multiplicity of ways, not only through words, but the words are very significant. And I think it's interesting because for us as logocentric creatures, as the types of beings that rely upon words and language to know and to understand, we see in those opening words of John's Gospel the importance of speaking, listening to God, hearing his word, but also speaking as part of the Catholic intellectual tradition. There's a great quote from John Paul II who speaks about how both faith and reason are like two wings that lift the human spirit to the contemplation of truth. And I love that because I think he's right that both faith and reason are really important. We need both heart and mind to be able to reach these goals of knowing and loving God and knowing and loving one another better. And I like about the Catholic intellectual tradition that it's open to speaking with non-Catholics. So the fact that our faith doesn't only rest on revelation, but is something that demands that we think about reasoned arguments, makes it available to many, many people. So my students, for example, I often have them read this work called Rerum Novarum by Pope Leo XIII, where he's dealing with industrialization and speaking about the importance of justice for workers. And Leo there gives arguments. He says we need to treat workers more justly, but the reasons are that we can see the relationship between the human person and the value of work. We can see that meaning in work is part of a good human life. We can understand that to be able to support your family and bring home a paycheck to support them has a real value. And this goes back to something fundamental about the human person. So I think for me, the value of that kind of rational argument is that it can mean something to my students who are Catholic, who are Christian, who have other faiths, who are agnostic, atheists, people of many backgrounds, because we're trying to give universal reasons for why certain things are true about the human person. At the same time, I think it's very important that there is a unified teaching body to the Church, that we have a kind of wisdom that's passed on from generation to generation, because the community of the Church extends over time. It's not just the community of people in the 21st century, it's the extension of the community throughout the ages, and that the wisdom of the past can be passed on to us and yet looked at in new ways. And I do really believe that the Holy Spirit is working through the Church, through the spirited discussions, even the arguments that have been going on since the Apostles and that we continue to have today as we grapple with new issues. The Holy Spirit is guiding the Church and moving it forward. I do think that in my own conversion process, it was really important to read the writings of a variety of thinkers. I was teaching here at Boston College Augustine's Confessions, one of my favorite books, and I found that many of his insights into the human condition are just as fresh and insightful today as they were in the past. For example, what he has to say about human desire, about the longing for God, about struggle, about the desire to somehow reconcile faith and understanding are issues that I think all kinds of people can identify with. But I also love that we do have contemporary social teachings, writings that speak very directly to specific social issues. So whether it's Rerum Novarum and the kinds of insights that we have about working class, or the updated version John Paul gave in Centesimus Annus, or people who talk about the Human Genome Project and what are the implications for the human person. We find the importance of the Catholic faith taking the traditions of the past and saying, how can we look anew at problems today? How can we stay open to new insights that the world has to offer in the contemporary age as we seek to kind of synthesize the wisdom of the past and then the openness to how the Spirit continues to work today.